Hare Krishna. Question: isn't it desirable to fear entanglement in grihastha life? You mentioned in one of your answers that one should not enter grihastha life with a negative attitude, thinking that is entangling. But isn't it better that one have that fear of entanglement, and that's how one way can protect oneself from entanglement? Answer: yes, there is healthy fear and there is unhealthy fear. Unhealthy fear comes out as negativity, whereas healthy fear is caution. So, unhealthy fear essentially means that one goes in with a negative mentality, and that negative mentality becomes like a self fulfilling prophecy, wherein whatever one fears, that's what one gets eventually. And that's how one becomes more and more entangled and more contaminated. If one starts thinking, oh, this grahastha ashram is going to be filled with problems, it is going to have this complication, that complication, then with all the problems that come with, rather than being prepared for those problems, we become burdened by those problems. It's a matter of the attitude. A habitually pessimistic attitude, vishadi dirgha sutri cha. Krishna talks about vishad. Vishad is dejection, depression, moroseness. That is, he says, in tamoguna. So being cautious is in sattva. Being habitually pessimistic is in tamoguna. It's in being cautious is sattva. So as devotees, we should be in sattva, not in tamoguna. Of course, we aspire to be transcendental, but we cultivate goodness so that eventually we can move towards transcendence. So the important point is that if we as devotees don't recognize the difference between goodness and transcendence, then, or rather between goodness and ignorance in this particular situation, then we may embrace ignorance and think that that is what scripture is teaching us. No, we don't see in scripture that anyone who has entered grihastha ashram failing to execute responsibly the responsibilities of grihastha ashram. We see that people do execute those responsibilities diligently, because they understand that that this is what is by dharma right now. And by executing those responsibilities diligently, Ram did not think when Sita was abducted, oh, anyway, I have to take Vanaprastha and sannyas later. So anyway, now Sita has been abducted. Good, I am freed from the entanglement. He didn't think like that. So the Pandavas, when they were dispossessed, eventually they came back to claim their kingdom. They did not accept the false argument that Dhritarashtra made through Sanjay that, oh, anyway, you have to take Vanaprastha later. So now take Vanaprastha now only. They said, no, we have a duty of dharma over here, duty to establish dharma, and we must do that duty. Our dharma is right now as grihasthas. So the point which I am making is that sometimes the difference between healthy fear and unhealthy fear becomes blurred. And unhealthy fear comes out as the habitually negative attitude, and that negative attitude becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy which creates unnecessary complications and aggravations of our situations. So the healthy caution, what does healthy caution means? It's not that when a devotee is doing household responsibilities, so I'll explain how things will work out in tamoguna. If a person is too tamasic, that person, when the householder duties are there, at that time that person is thinking, oh, only if I could go to temple, if only I could hear katha, if only I could dance in kirtan. Oh, all this is so burdensome. And one just wants to get rid of those things and go into devotional activities. Now this may seem wonderful at one level, but what happens is that one does those duties neglectfully, and then one has to eventually spend more time rectifying the mistakes that one has done. And by being careless or irresponsible, one hurts people, and those hurts eventually create ruptures in the relationships, and that takes a lot of time, and that causes a lot of distraction, cause of emotional agony also. So when one one neglects one's household responsibilities in the name of devotion, then that often creates greater complication in the household responsibilities in later on, and that leads to further problems. So instead, if one focuses on transcendental principles, if one focuses on understanding that with the transcendental vision, that the scope of Krishna Bhakti is not limited only to directly devotional activities. It is not that when we are going to the temple and doing directly devotional activities, only then we are performing bhakti. Uh, we have to expand our conception of bhakti, so that bhakti, the performance of bhakti is not limited to the temple alone, but it is performance of bhakti is done at our home and it is done at our offices also. So when we have this expanded conception of bhakti, then with this inclusive vision, we will do even our worldly duties responsibly. Because we'll see these are also the ways in which I am serving Krishna. This is not my home. This is Krishna's home. And in this Krishna's home, I am trying to serve him. And these are Krishna's, these are not just my family members, they are Krishna's family members. And they have been entrusted by Krishna to me. And I take care and I serve them in the way, whatever is appropriate according to my responsibility, my situation. And in that way, I move onwards towards Krishna. And even while doing my household duties. So, of course, if one thinks that my bhakti, so one limited conception of bhakti is that it's restricted only to the temple. Now, another limited conception of bhakti is that bhakti can be performed anywhere, so there is no need to go to the temple only. Whatever I do at my home itself, whatever I do at my office itself, that itself is bhakti. No, again, that is a limitation which will cripple our devotion. That is a limited conception which will cripple our devotion, because without explicitly devotional activities, our consciousness will not stay devotional for long. Because right now we are very much affected by what we are, the situation that we are externally in, and what we are doing at the physical level. Because we are in the material world and we are materially conscious. So when our externals are also devotional and we are doing directly devotional activities, that does influence us devotionally, and that creates adequate inner impressions and inner inspirations that we can carry on and continue bhakti at home and carry on that devotional disposition when we are at home and in our offices also. So we need explicitly devotional time, and along with that we also need to give due responsibility to due time and attention to our devotional responsibilities. When they are to be done at our home or in profession also. So caution means that we understand that there is the possibility of entanglement, and to prevent that possibility from becoming an eventuality, we need to have regularity in our spiritual connection. So the sattvic way of dealing with the danger of entanglement in grihastha life is to make a diligent commitment to regularly practice bhakti. The practice in the sense of directly devotional activities. And the tamasic way of, which is unhealthy fear, the negativity is that one just treats everything grihastha ashram as a burden, and with that negative attitude one makes a mess of things and then seeks bhakti as a relief from the mess of from that mess that one has created by one's negligence and one's irresponsibility. And then when one approaches bhakti with that kind of escapist attitude, then one doesn't even really do bhakti wholeheartedly, because one's focus is not on to whom we are going, but from what we are running. That means I'm running away from the problems of my life. I'm not so concerned whether I'm running towards Krishna. So, as devotees, if we recognize that grihastha ashram is also an ashram, and ashram means it can also give us ashraya of Krishna. And with that understanding, when we take shelter of Krishna through grihastha ashram, then we will have the healthy caution without succumbing to a negativity, which will be the unhealthy fear, which will make problems worse. Whereas the healthy caution will keep problems minimal and will enable us to deal with whatever problems come in a responsible and effective way. Thank you. Hare Krishna.